and welcome. This is a little podcast that I decided to put together for our members and anybody else that's interested. The premise of this came out of a thought I had in the second week of the ALTA program when I got back from Europe. I got to meet all the crew. Some of them I knew before, some of them I was unfamiliar with. And I've been involved with martial arts for a long time, but when I looked around the room and I didn't recognise my own journey and the reasons why the ALTA participants had come to be there. A lot of them, a lot of people have never been involved in martial arts. Some have never been involved in martial arts. Some drove a long way to be here, and I found it so intriguing and so courageous that someone would jump into something like this over the course of 20 weeks to be involved. I thought a little short form conversation with some of the participants who are willing to have a chat would be really interesting to kind of tap into what it is about them that would draw them to something like this and see if there's anything we can learn from them, inspiring or practical or otherwise. And for me personally, just to get a better sense of who the contestants are in the program, my coaching style for fighters is different than my coaching style for running classes, and having a rapport and understanding what drives someone to fight is a big part of what I'm about, and it allows me to motivate and to kind of tap into people's deeper reason for fighting. So a useful and interesting exercise, and I wanted to introduce today Belinda, who's a beloved member here. It was only a few days ago me and Lani were talking about the program and about Belinda specifically, and about how much we love having her in the gym. She's here literally non-stop and is just an absolute wrecking ball of a human being. So Belinda, if we could start nice and light, relax, and just maybe if you could introduce yourself to whoever might be listening, all three of them, and tell us a little bit about who you are, maybe outside of the gym. We've come to know you inside.
All right, thanks for having me. I'm a bit of a wrecking ball of a human, an accident-prone individual. I'm a university professor by trade, but I also run a coaching business, and I'm on a few boards, non-for-profits and education startups as well. So I've got my fingers in many pies, and since I was little, I've always strived to build excellence in whatever I'm doing, and I've realised that that's been a pattern throughout my life. So that's something that I want to bring when I come and step into the gym, which is about 6 days a week nowadays.
Yeah, we're at the point where you may as well just move your labradoodle in here, and we'll and bring a pillow and set up. So when you heard about the ALTA MMA challenge, 20 weeks of fairly intensive MMA training, working towards the opportunity to have a fight, what was your initial reaction, I guess?
Was giddy up. Immediately I wanted something at the end as a crescendo to work towards. I don't really work well with coming into the gym and slogging it out for no end. I really work best towards an end goal, and I'm not a particularly competitive person, but I've been involved in competitive sports because there's something to work towards at the end to be a better version of yourself, and there's a measurement point. If there's no finite point for me, like the finish of a running race, for example, I don't work well without a goal. So it gives me something to focus on and aspire to. So it was immediate yes for me to have that opportunity. Also, I don't realise when it would be okay to step in a ring. I'd like for someone else to tell me I'm ready to go, and that's something that's hard to gauge. You could train for 2 years and not really feel the confidence to step into a ring. However, if somebody says at the end of 20 weeks you're in there, then you kind of have to step up.
Yeah, it's an interesting program in that regard, because you know, as a trainer, you don't want to put a specific time frame on whether or not someone's ready. So it forces us as they're ready when they're ready, and they're ready when they're ready in terms of their physical skill set, but also their mental readiness, balance in terms of what's going on outside, like with their work and stuff, because it is such a big sacrifice. But 20-week challenge working towards a fight is quite unique. It's forced me and Kim to have some conversations about, how do we ensure that? And it really comes back on the coaches to ensure that what we're delivering and how we're getting around people, particularly in the end phase, is very specific and targeted towards them competing. Whereas when you're in a general class space, a lot of it's also about having fun and providing a space where people can come and have a bit of a circuit breaker between whatever bullshit they do during the day and whatever they might be going back to bullshit, who knows. So it's a very different hat, and it's forced us to think differently about this program. You said you've done sports in the past. What kind of sports were you playing? Were any of them martial art related?
No, I had done some boxing about a year before that, and I had an inter-club match at a different gym. But apart from that, I used to compete in powerlifting. I competed in 2 different federations at national level. I got 3rd and 4th in Australia in the 82.5 kilo women's. A bit harder to get higher than that ranking. You have to get onto some certain medications I'm not into. But not for me. But look, it was really a forcing function for me to put up or show up and have that same kind of squeeze of time frame, because the competition date is set. You have to drop weight, you have to increase muscle, you have to push yourself, and it encourages a mindset that is a bit more durable than the norm.
Yeah, and it's incredibly hard training, and I hear what you're saying about the mindset. And I think there's probably quite a few parallels, given that powerlifting is an individual pursuit, ideally, at its essence, and so you really need to be self-driven and self-motivated because you're doing it for yourself. And the nutrition and stuff alongside of that, and probably process too. But I guess when you're here, we're operating. You in martial arts, you're always with a partner, aren't you? Like very much training with a partner, which might make it a little bit different, and different body shapes and sizes, and we've got some crew in the ALTA program, like Tarkin, who's played like professional rugby, and he's just like a fucking
fridge,
absolute fridge, like a beer fridge, like Grant, who's about 382 kgs. So we mix it through some different body types too, and that makes for some pretty hard training at times. What's your experience in the classes? You would have had an initial expectation in some capacity. Has it been harder or easier than you thought it might be?
I felt the initial few weeks it would be uncomfortable to work in such close proximity with someone else. I mean, when you're stand-up Muay Thai or boxing, you're at arm's length or at leg's length most of the time, and grappling is, it's a bit close for comfort. When you've got someone at 90 kilos squeezing on top of you or trying to wrestle you down, it's a bit intimate. But I almost fear, like, I don't know if I can, be in that close proximity and not be the walking accident that I am and accidentally elbow myself or someone else, or have a mischief. But what I also realised is that you can build comfortability in the uncomfortable and feel like, okay, well, I can't do this, but it's a simple matter of shifting it to, I can't do this yet. So we were learning Kimuras, for example, and I just immediately spun out and thought, I'm not sure if I can hang out on top of someone and then grab their arm and manipulate it, but I was just doing it today, 6 or 7 weeks in, and with a different comfort level than I felt initially. So the program allows you to shift up that I can't do it to I am doing it, and then without, I think we're in 7 weeks now, it feels a lot more comfortable than the first initial fear that you feel when you step into a gym and do something for the first time.
Yeah, right. I shared that feeling. I remember when I first started jiu-jitsu, and that was I had a very similar experience. I felt very uncomfortable being in such close proximity to sweaty people that were more experienced than me, and I felt very uncomfortable being fucking shit at what I was doing. Yeah. And I can remember that. And the tricky thing with the grappling side of MMA, So where striking is so much more natural. Like you see a kid get pissed off and they ball up their fist and they start swinging on each other on the playground. They just know, when human beings know how to do that. Grappling's counterintuitive. We teach you to turn into danger, to face somebody. We teach you to try and breathe rather than panic and shy away. It's a very uncomfortable thing, but I think that's where a lot of the gold is in grappling. Is it teaches you to be patient and comfortable in the uncomfortable, and there's so many great transferables from parallels and metaphors from jiu-jitsu to life, that can help you navigate life. So this kind of training, you're a very introspective person, so this program might offer you different things than it offers other people, but has it impacted other than all your fucking injuries, has it impacted you in your day-to-day life outside of here? Like, what does that look like? You're coming in every morning at 6 a.m. and you're going out and you're a university professor with 500 other things on the go. Like, how does it impact when you walk out of here?
Well, my base training for doing that role is studying philosophy. And I teach 3 subjects. I teach people how to research, basically, so all types of things from medicine to business to all sorts of sustainability, health, all sorts of things in between. I'm using analogies from this ALTA program all the time. We have a passive society where people don't turn into danger. People shy away. People are anxiety-ridden and afraid to even pick up the phone and call somebody. People have a fear of that. The ALTA program has showed me that to turn into fear, it kind of dissolves it. And every single lecture I've had for the last 7 weeks has involved some analogy of how you can face adversity and overcome it. And practically, when I'm having a rubbish day, which is probably every second day these days, and when something's creaking and cracking as I'm getting out of bed and the ass crack of dawn, I realise there's some other people doing the same thing, trying to get it just like me. Why can't I just go and put a bit of effort in? And I think that strengthens and calluses you as a person to do harder things. And I've leaned into challenges and investments in myself in ways that I wouldn't have done without the program, just because I remember I did that hard thing earlier. I can overcome this at 9 o'clock because I've already been up at 5.
I heard someone say recently, I think it was in a UFC press conference, they said that adversity is a gift, and like the ability to come in and do something really hard is, like you say, in a passive society, it's something that a lot of people miss out on. To do something hard that really challenges them and feels good, tangible feeling at the end of doing something hard is a great feeling. Like when you come in here at 5:45 in the morning and it's fucking cold because it's the middle of winter and we've got professional rugby players bouncing around on the mat doing cartwheels and shit, and you're like, well, this is going to be fucking horrible. But no matter what happens at the end of every session, you always walk out feeling good. And like you say, the philosophy that's bound and like the wisdom that's bound in martial arts is goes so deep into our like human past. Like the metaphors are all there. Roll with the punches, pick yourself up off the mats, recognize who's in your corner, step up to scratch. All of these things, they're all found in martial arts because it's so natural to who we are. So many people just fucking keep it at bay and fight it off, which I imagine then in a university setting, like with your colleagues being academics largely, like have you told them, like, how was it received by your colleagues and family and friends that you're like, hey, I'm going to fight in a cage in Geelong?
Most of them kind of expected it. They went, this is another one of your harebrained schemes, good on you. Look, one of the worst things that I can think of, if I'm looking back on my life, is to be mediocre. Right? That's one. I can be strong, I can be healthy and all that sort of stuff, but I don't ever want to be some mediocre beige person who's done nothing with their life. And I see a lot of that. And I see a lot of that with no offence to people in the university space, I see a lot of that with people who go through a university framework. They go into a place and it's something to do with the ego. They get a bit of an ego stroking. They think they know something, and it's a paradox, really. You go in and learn a finite amount of information, and people either come out of the wheelhouse in two ways. They come out thinking, I am king shit, I know everything, I'm better than someone else. Or they come out going, I know a skerrick of fuck all, and I need to learn more. And that thirst for knowledge can transfer you into totally different universes to the people who are working, for example, in the same job that I work in, and they're completely indoctrinated by a system that's trying to overthrow them and poison them. They're completely indoctrinated by what they've read in a textbook that was bought and sold by, a banker. The way that it should look, a society, a system, the way of doing business, you name it. They're completely shackled by what they've been taught in four square walls. Whereas when you come into the philosophy of fighting, you look at it like we're talking about the framework of Muay Thai, the framework of wrestling. There's principles, there's no groin kicks, you've got to be, moral and all of that. But there's also kind of anything goes. And that's the beauty of it, because you don't really know what's going to happen. It's unpredictable. There's mechanisms for handling and capturing the chaos. But in a university space, my colleagues and also in the businesses that I work with and run, they all think I'm crazy, but I don't think I'm crazy. I think they're crazy for continuing a life of mediocrity. Now, who's right and who's wrong? There's no such thing. It's just a perspective. And I'm really resonating with the gift of adversity, because if I don't have adversity, I'm staying stagnant and I'm not growing, and I couldn't think of anything worse.
I was in my life before opening this gym, there was a bit of crossover, but before I used to run an organisation predominantly for young people who were on the fringe or within the youth justice system, or the young adults moving into the adult justice system. And the premise of the program was about lived experience and the value of lived experience and the wisdom that's involved in experiential learnings, like when making mistakes. And a university lecturer asked me to come down to the university to talk to our youth work students, and I did. I was doing a lot of keynote speaking at the time, and then afterwards asked to have coffee with me, and she just kind of wanted to know how to codify everything. Like, she was interested in codifying the value of lived experience. And I was like, I don't think you listened to me for the last 90 minutes while I was talking. I found it such a frustrating exercise. And when she asked me to come back the next time, I politely declined as I looked across the room of very well-meaning, benevolent university students who wanted to go and make a difference, who had no life experience and just looked at me like I was some kind of circus act. I found it very, very interesting. Do you think this program, getting into it, do you think it's about proving anything to yourself or anyone else? Like, if people come along and watch you fight in 13 weeks, whenever it is, I should probably figure that out.
101 days.
101 days. There you go, 101 days. Fuck, I love that. T-minus 101. Will you be? I'm sure you'll be proving something to them. But is it about that, or is it more about proving something to yourself, or is it something different?
I could say a whole bunch of things right now, but the journey's part of it. Right, the destination is a good get, but the proof. There's a few things. I'm eating a mostly raw fruitarian/vegan lifestyle, and a lot of people say you can't put muscle on. Well, I'm built like a fridge. Yeah. I haven't lost muscle mass since I was powerlifting too much, and I'm 42. A lot of people say you're expired milk. You're had it. I'm like, okay, let me give you a run for your money. Let me have a crack, for the purposes of maybe not necessarily telling someone else that you're wrong. I love telling people that they're wrong, or at least I love being right. That's probably the better phrasing. And I haven't been wrong for a while now, so it's getting a bit much. the proving of me, I'm proving myself a winner by getting up when I don't want to get up, or when I'm feeling crap, rolling into the gym and hitting on with people. But more so the durability of aging. I don't think that, and this is an experiment as a scientist that I am the crazy professor, I don't believe that we degenerate. I believe that we can regenerate. I've regenerated my spine from massive injury, from deadlifting more and eating a mainly fruit diet. I think that we can detoxify our cells and regenerate. You've got back and hip issues from probably a myriad of things, and what you can actually do with eating a proper diet, I believe, and I'm a testament to that, that you can regenerate and also live a much more youthful and vigorous lifestyle. So I train here 6 days a week, at least 2 hours a day, some days 3, some days it's been 4, and I go home and walk my dog. Now, if I can do that plus an 8 or 9 hour day across a few different organisations, and rest and do all the other life stuff, dross, there's something in that. And I almost want to prove that to other people who are crippled, who are sore, who are living a life going, I have to drag my ass out of bed, I have to smash a coffee into my gob, I have to eat meat and potatoes and force this down my gullet to get 3,000 calories so I can be a beefcake, and I can't even tie my own shoelaces. I don't think that's a proper existence. And a lot of people don't want to agree with me because it makes them face up to the fact that they've been lied to all their lives. Now, whether or not I prove people wrong or right with that, the proof will be in the pudding. On December 6th, be there.
To see the Fruit Ninja. Belinda the Fruit Ninja.
Ginger Ninja.
That's crazy. I didn't know that you only ate. So you just eat, this could turn into a long form podcast very easily if I start tapping into. When you start tapping into people's ideas about food and nutrition, we got to open up Pandora's box. But just very quickly, maybe this is a conversation for another time in a long form. But so you said fruit and vegan based. So you only eat fruit, or is there something you supplement that with in terms of beans or fucking rice or something?
Well, rice and beans are obstructive to the system. I didn't know that. I've been eating them all my life until maybe 2 years ago. I could get into it. I could probably do a whole bunch of long form work on that. When we drop weight for boxing, right? We kneel by mouth, fasting. So I adopt a fruitarian, mostly raw, and a fasting cycle in my diet. So I eat mostly fruit in its raw form, vegetables, herbs, and some spices, and occasionally I eat grains because you want to go out for a meal and there's not much else in the menu, and you still want to be social. But for the most part, it's fruit juices and herbs. But I also incorporate fasting into that, and you'd be surprised. We're full of toxins, but when people are dropping weight and we're telling them to fast kneel by mouth, we're actually full of compacted food, and our body does a really great job of absorbing what it can, and then wrapping mucus around what it can't absorb or what's toxic for us. The things that we inject into ourselves, the things that we eat that are highly processed, like Cheetos and rubbish like that. The kids, roll-ups and stuff. So what we do over time to our bodies is really impactful to our GI tract. Now, you look at a lot of people who are gluten-free, lactated or whatever, lactose intolerant, sorry, all of those things. You think, why are people having an aversion to these things? It's because they're not naturally supposed to be in our system. We've processed those foods. We've screwed over wheat. We've hybridized canola. We've done all sorts of things to create monsters out of our food. And when we ingest it, our body just says no thanks. So I can get into it in another long form, no problems, but it's a really wicked experiment to do because you start to realize we've been lied to our whole lives about what makes us vibrant as human beings.
The owner of Tom's Grocer, the fruitery up in Armstrong Creek, his kids train here. Maybe we should get you a little sponsorship. Get a fruit ninja, mate.
Sounds
You
good.
probably with a big Tom's fruit thing on your top or something.
Yeah.
Oh, it's super interesting. Super interesting. After 20 weeks, after the 20-week program, this is something I'm really interested in, right? It's like, what fucking happens after 20 weeks? Like, have you thought about that? Like, you get in there, you spoke about how you need a goal, like you have this crescendo, and I often call it second fightitis. Right? I've seen this so many times. People, there's so much occasion about a fight night. It's such a big event. It's really meaningful. You've been thinking about it for a long time, and then you have the fight. People get second fightitis, and you never see them again. It's like, I don't think you will have second fightitis. You just don't seem. I think you'll be immune to that from all the fucking apples you're eating. It's like, what have you thought about that? Like, what's next after 20 weeks?
Well, the December 6th is the fight. I'm hoping to go to Thailand over the Christmas New Year period, and I'd like to get a fight in Thailand, Muay Thai fighting. And I've also thought about what it would take for me to be, I guess, involved in amateur MMA fight thereafter. So my goal would be to talk to you about what you recommend, if I'm up to that yet, or if I need some more training. My goal, I think I looked over at that belt over there and I said to you the other day, I think that looks nice. What would it take to get that? And you said, I would take this. And then I thought, okay, let me work backwards on how long it would take me to do that. And I figured out it would be 2 years. As long as I'm not injured, which might extrapolate that to 20, I don't know. But I started to think, could I do amateur MMA to then potentially get to do pro? And I've spoken to 2 people about that, and they said, in your 40s, that just can't be done. And I thought, game on.
That doesn't seem like the right thing to say to you, you fucking mad bastard. I love it. Hey, I love that though. You know, I love that. Like, we're the same age exactly, and yeah, I appreciate that about you. Like I've kind of had my moment, you know, in fighting.
Are you sure?
I'm living a different moment.
Yeah.
Like I get a lot of the same things that I get it by being a part of the sport, and I get so much more. Like, I learned a lot about myself fighting. You know, I did that. I ticked that box, and for me, and I think for everybody, the sacrifice has to be justify the end game. Like, if you're fighting, you're like, if you get to a point you fight, you're like, you know, that didn't quite scratch the itch, then it's time to do something else. And like, through coaching, I really get it. But I appreciate about you, that you're still getting after it, and that if people tell you no, I see this in myself, people tell you no, that you want to go and prove them wrong. But I still fall into this trap, and I think it's just like a colloquial Australianism and New Zealandism of making jokes about your age at your own expense. And I think that then can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, yeah, my body is fucked and it is sore, but so what? You know, we get one fucking go at it, mate. So you may as well squeeze all the juice out of it as you can. You know what I mean?
Well, you can say that, and I can completely empathise with what you mean. But I want to put it to you that you're not fucked, that you're not cooked, that you can probably have a second or maybe even a third win. I'm talking Masters MMA, Masters Muay Thai. Let's get at it. If you think you're cooked, go on a protocol, detox your body. You'll be in red hot shape, and you won't know yourself. The last fight I did, the Muay Thai Interclub, I fasted on pineapple juice alone for 3 of the 4 days that leading up to it. On the day before, I didn't have nothing to eat, dry fasting they call that, you know. And then when I went into that ring, I felt like I was on something. I felt like I was in the damn Matrix. I could see every punch coming, and I watched it back. I caught every just about every one of her kicks. I caught them all. And you've seen me. I'm a clusterfuck. I'm a clumsy human being. I can't catch for nothing. I just catch it with my head. I caught every one of her kicks, and I couldn't explain that.
Yeah.
Other than that's a protocol for refining your cells and hydration.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
We're going to finish up with some rapid fire with Whitewater Willie, is what they used to call me around these parts. The story behind that, just so it doesn't sound like some kind of weird, like weird B-grade 80s porno thing, is like a couple of the boys from here, when we first opened the gym, took me out surfing at Jan Juk, and I got stuck in the whitewater at Jan Jarkin couldn't get out the back, and so I attracted the unfortunate moniker of Whitewater Willie. So rapid fire, and I'm interested in the first one. Favourite post-training meal?
Oh, apple.
Fucking hell, mate. You're going to be the only person that says that. Who hits the hardest in the gym?
Good question. There was a guy here that, I don't know, he was I don't know, about 50 years old. He booted me in the stomach once and sent me into 2 weeks into the future. I don't know, he's got glasses, he does boxing upstairs, I think. I can't think
Jason Murdoch.
I think so, yeah.
He's fucking maniac.
Yeah. Just about punched my liver into the other side of my body, yeah.
Jason Murdoch, also one of the original members of Bones, that not many people would know if they passed him in the street, because he does the 6 a.m s.
That's right.
Mostly, but what a fucking G. Do you know he has a podcast about painting figurines, like little
Warhammers and stuff.
Warhammers,
Yeah.
bro. He's such a cool dude, man. I love that guy. I used to be real into those things. He's the best. We got so many weirdos in this gym that are just so interesting, you know. Fuck, I'd rather, and you know, you talked about like beige society. I love fucking strange people because they're so interesting. People who live outside the mold. Most underrated muscle soreness.
Achilles heel.
Oh yeah, Achilles heel's fucked. Isn't it? Achilles heel's fucked. One word to describe your MMA journey.
Brutal.
Fucking brutal. So good. Belinda, thank you. I'm good at timing these things. That was 31 minutes. We aim for 30 minutes. It's been a pleasure, mate. Let's fucking get it to the death.
Well,
What are we doing?
we can square up if you want.